Okay, here we are on the 10th of the month of Adar Rishon. And what do we have in store for us here? Some dinim about after washing and as you're preparing for benching. So he says, concerning the blessings of Birchas HaMazon, the blessings after food, koidim mayim achronim, before you put the mayim achronim to your lips, they say, you say that the kapitel al naharis bavel, lam natser binaginois, avoracha, and zeh chelek odom, etc. This is written in order in the Siddur. But on other days, that's the regular. But days that are not regular, yom she'em emenim boitat, when you don't say tachanin, then you say shir hamailus b'shuv Hashem, livnei koirach, and after mayim achronim yidaber elai, and after mayim achronim, in both days you say yidaber elai. Of course, this is all written in the Siddur, and what he says here follows the way we do. Sometimes what's written here is different than the way we do, but this is how we do it. A very small group right now, so let's do refuah shleimus.
Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead, Alicia.
Elka Rachel Bas Elisa. Baruch Benjamin Ben Rachel. Jana Bas Hana. Yehudis Golda Bas Elisa Hana, and Dahava Daniela Bas Naomi Hana.
Refuah shleima v'kodev.
Amen.
Elisheva Bas Rina, Menachem Yehuda Nisan Ben Rizal Tzivya, Rina Bas Rivka, Levi Yitzchak Ben Elisheva. There was a man with an eye problem, Abraham. Oh, hold on. Let me get it real quick. In
the meantime, Dvor Rachel Bat Meim Chava.
Avraham Shmaryahu Ben Tzipa Rachel. Avraham Shmaryahu Ben Tzipa Rachel.
Okay. Refuah shleima v'kodev.
Elisheva, you have COVID now?
Yeah.
Oh, refuah shleima.
Thank you. It's just so long already. So annoying.
Refuah shleima.
I mean.
Lessons in Tanya, page 376, Adar, and over here, Kuti Morim, page Lamed Zion. From the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The Hasiba, the cause of this illness. I'm smiling. This condition, which we call timtum halev, closeness, hardness of the heart. Right. This is another one of the cases that the Alter Rebbe describes in terms of being less than 100% present in terms of avodas Hashem for various reasons. Some of the reasons previous were one's agony over the difficulties of life, one's feeling of insufficiency in terms of one's avodas Hashem, and a few others, which, by the way, I've listed in our Google Doc. I keep saying this. I'm going to put today, God willing, after class, I'll put the link to the Google Doc there so you guys can participate in jotting down any issues and techniques. One of the issues that need techniques to straighten oneself out on the path to Beinoni. Okay, this one that we're dealing with here is Timtum Halev, the hardness of the heart, the blockage of the heart, right? And the advice of this we gave yesterday was given in the Zohar by a mashal, a big piece of wood that you want to bring to a fire. You can't bring it and light it with a match and have that illuminate. You have to break it into little pieces. So similarly, excuse me, the Zohar says a body that doesn't have the fire of the Nefesh Elokis flaming within it, so you have to break it. Now, what are we breaking? We have to be careful with this. Because first of all, the Zohar said the body. We're not going to chastise the body. We're not going to beat ourselves. We're not going to afflict ourselves. And what is it that we are going to do? We'll discuss as we go a little bit further. So in today's Tanya, before he gets to that question, which I'm posing here, what exactly are we going to crush? First, he gives us a little bit of more diagnostic on the problem. The hasiba, the cause of this gasus haruach, the cause of this heart of stone, so to speak, lev ha'evan, this heart of stone. The heart of it, this cause of this is gasus ha'klipa. It's the thickness of the klippa, or the arrogance of the klippa. Both are the same. It's the klippa is, as we said in the language before, raising its head up like an eagle, lifting itself on high. So that's the part of ourselves which is consumed with what's good for the so-called me, the me that's the everyday me, not the self with a capital S, the real self, the Nefesh Elokis, but the self that we are born into with all of its animal attractions and the Yetzer Hora which fans those animal attractions and brings us to preoccupation with indulgence of this false self, we'll call it, the I, the false self. And this is the causes, and that raising itself up like an eagle is called a thickness, is caused a thickness. Gasus haruach, it's a thick kind of skin, a thickness of spirit, which is preventing the light of the Ein Sof, the aura of Kedusha, to come through. So this is called gasus haruach, or on the page, gasus haklippa, the thickness of the klippa. That's the cause. The cause of gasus haruach, the cause of tough-skinned, thick-skinned, heart of stone, is the tough thickness and the arrogance of the klippa. Shemarbia, back inside. Shemarbia atzmoi al or kedusha, which this thick klippa, this thick shell, in using the Alter Rebbe's language, is lifting itself up over the light of kedusha, completely obscuring the light of kedusha, blocking it. And that light of kedusha, of course, comes from the Nefesh Elokis. So the Nefesh Elokis is being blocked by the gasus haklippa, by the arrogance of the klippa, which is overcoming it. And in terms of that Nefesh Elokis light, the kedusha of the Nefesh Elokis is misateres, it's hidden, and it darkens the light. Gasus haklippa darkens the light. So this is the cause of a heart of stone, the thick klippa darkening the light of kedusha. Therefore, you have to thin it out, right? The piece of wood, make it into small strands of easily flammable pieces of wood. Tzorek levatsha, you have to crush it, literally. You have to pulverize it. You have to thin it out. V'hashpila le'ofer, and since it's lifting itself up, what's the it? Again, the gasus haklippa, right? Again, I emphasize, even though he said, the Zohar said, the body that doesn't have the light come in it, you crush it. But what are we crushing? Now, the Rebbe is explaining what he means. It doesn't mean, as I said earlier, punishing and afflicting the body. It means, and we'll find out how to do this, it means thinning out the klippa, thinning out the gasus haruach, and lowering it, la'afar, and that's this statute of humility, lowering it to the dust. And he says the method for doing this is the hainu l'kaveh itim lahashpil atzmoi lias nivza be'enov nimos, that one should fix times, create fixed times in the day. Remember, when these things fall into you, when this obscuring of kedusha just falls into you, that's a key. We've learned this then, we've talked about it more than once. That's a key to knowing that that's from the Yetzer Hora, if it just falls upon you, because it's not something that you're doing in terms of your work and avoid it. So when that falls upon you, then to deal with it, you don't necessarily deal with it at that moment. I mean, I'm depressed about the fact that I'm far from Kedusha, right? Or I'm feeling like it's blocked. I mean, all the Torah learning I'm doing in a given day is not opening myself. So I still have work to do. I've got mitzvahs to perform. I've got a day to go through. It's a mistake to think, well, now let me just, run into the corner here and take another hour and just kind of, okay, you have to make fixed times that are appropriate. And the fixed time that the Chazal, of course, have given us is Tikkun Chatzois or Krishma Lamita, or other times that you yourself fix for this. Likavoya itim, that's his language, to fix times for this. And what's this? The hashpil atzmai, to lower oneself. Now, this is lowering that false self, right? The self which is the self of the gasus aklipa, lowering that self. Lievs nivza be'ena, for that false self should be despicable in your eyes. Nomas, despicable is also the word. Kakosuv, as is written in Tillim, David HaMelech says, "Belev nishbar ruach nishbora," that my heart is broken and my spirit is broken. Now, which heart? The left side of the heart. Which spirit? The spirit of the Sitra Achra is broken. This, as he says, he ha Sitra Achra. And this is extremely important because you can easily make a mistake. And mistakes have been made and are being made in learning this to take it literally. Afflict your body, because the Zohar says, "Gufa delay salak be." When the body that's suffering from this, you crush it. But he's very careful to say, what are you crushing? What are you breaking? It's the Sitra Achra, the force of the Sitra Achra. Which in a Beinani, since a Beinani always has this struggle, the predominant voice in the Beinani is the voice of the Sitra Achra, against which, with which that Beinani is struggling. Because in a Beinani, the animal soul, the enlivening soul, which enlivens the body, he batokfa betaldoisa, beliboy. It's in its original strength, in the way it was born in the person's heart. Nimsa hihi adamatzma. So therefore, that's the person. That's the person. Now we know there's another person, the person of Kedusha, lying low, but it's lying low. It needs to be inflamed, and part of the way that put it this way, it has a flame, right? It has a spark, the nefesh elokis. But to bring forth the fire, just like the fire in your campfire, the match has a flame, but it can't excuse me, who's calling me? The match has a flame, but it can't enlighten and illuminate the wholeness of your being if your being is in a state of being a thick piece of wood. So that nefesh elokis, to latch on to something and burn it, that nefesh bahamis with its yetzer hora has to be thinned out. But the dominant presence in the Beinani, who's got this eternal struggle, is this nefesh bahamis with its yetzer hora. It's constantly, not necessarily constantly, but always there to block the flow of Kedusha. And that's the avoida of the Beinani, to thin it out and allow the light of the nefesh elokis to inflame himself or herself. Back to the Tanya. Val nefesh elokis shaboy, and concerning, this is a Beinani, and concerning the godly soul of the Beinani, Nemar, it says, Neshama shenasati bi tehoirahi, right? We say it every morning. He shenasato bi. In other words, there's a me, and you have given the godly soul into me. Who's the me? The me, from this perspective that we have on the table here, is the perspective of the animal soul and the yetzer hora, because that's the first to enter the body, and that's the way a person is naturally encumbered or naturally sees things, through the light of the nefesh bahamis and its propensity to have the yetzer hora get attached to it. So there's a you, right? And that's the you in a Beinani. And the nefesh elokis, neshama shenasati bi. You gave a godly soul into that, into me. That's his diuk in this lashon here. And neshama shenasati bi. There's a you to whom this nefesh elokis has been given. So from this language, the neshama shenasati be, there's a me in whom the nefesh elokis was given. So you see that you can generalize that the person itself is not the neshama hatahira, is not the pure soul, the godly soul, ki im b'tzadikim, only by tzadikim, because in tzadikim it's just the reverse. The nefesh elokis is predominant, not only predominant, but prevails all the time, to the extent that any negativity either has no voice, it's asleep and has no voice, or it's been transformed itself into the light of Kedusha. That's by tzaddikim. Shebahem, when it comes to tzaddikim, ulahepech, it's the opposite of the Beinanim. In a tzaddik, sheneshama tahara shehi nefesh elokis, the pure soul, which is the godly soul, hu ha'odam, that's the person. The gufam nichur basa odam. And by a tzaddik, we have the expression basar odam, the flesh of a person. So the flesh is just the tangential, so to speak, and the person is the nefesh elokis by a tzaddik. And that's today's time. We're still on the road here, right? Defining the situation and defining the components of the situation and moving toward an avoda, which is an avoda of shiftless, practicing the avoda of thinning out, making the wood a thin piece of wood, so to speak, so the nefesh elokis can do what it's designed to do, which is to fire up one's being. Okay. Comments? Questions?
Practically speaking, how does one do that?
Well,
like breaking down.
You're ahead of the thing. He's going to tell us later. Should I tell you now? He's going to.
Sure.
Well, he's told us in a very succinct way. Make fixed times for contemplating this, for his bindiness, in recognizing what I would call, in my own language here, it's not my own language, it's a little bit borrowed from what little I know of IFS, the false self from the real self. Taking time to distinguish those things, it's a hisbonenus. It will be a hisbonenus in fixed times, so that you can, and then in addition to the hisbonenus, having identified clearly what the true self is versus the false self and its characteristics, to practice the characteristics of the true self. And he'll go on and discuss this at some level of detail. But it begins with his blindness, knowing the difference and making that separation in your mind about the false self and the godly self, and then understanding the characteristics of the godly self and flaming the fire with thought, speech, and action.
But sometimes you need to do it now. You can't set times. I mean,
so then set the time now, fix it, but don't let it just run around with you. Don't let it drag you around. You drag it around. That's okay. You can fix times of yourself. It's just the Chazal have designed certain times which are more of an eis ratzon. I mean, that's something important to say. It's not only that. It's not even probably just what I said before, just that, oh, it's the end of the day, I don't have anything to do. It's that these are eis ratzonim above. These are fixed times that God has fixed for this, and therefore the success factor is stronger. But yeah, sure, you can fix time, and you just take yourself aside and do this avoida.
Cool. You drag it, don't let it drag you. Thank you.
That's it. Learn how to drag it, and then ultimately to crush it. Right? The Yetzer Hara, that is. Tasha Rivka. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah. I was going to say, and then you started using the terms true self and false self. I was going to say something sort of contrary to that I understand by true self, you mean the nefesh elokis and the nefesh habaha. And I think those are better terms, because what this chapter, what we just read, is really telling us that our natural self, the nefesh habahamis, is really in a way, our true self. And the Nefesh Elkis is what we're supposed to work on and to bring out. And that's our effort. That's our avoda. That's our struggle. And yes, it's maybe truer. It's maybe holier. It's maybe more kedusha, but it's not our nature. So in that sense, I don't think we'd call it it's a deeper nature. It's there, but it's something that we have to work on. That's the whole Beinoni thing, that we have to make the effort. It's an avoda. And that, so in the sense that it's telling what the Alter Rebbe is telling us here is that we have to work, and that's okay. You shouldn't be depressed or discouraged or feel bad about the fact that it's work, that you have to do it, because that's what it is. That's the way we're created. That's what Hashem wants from us. So that's why I take issue with your true self and false self, or whatever you called it. I think I understand what you mean, but I think the terms Nefesh HaBahamis and Nefesh Elokis are more appropriate.
Well, he uses those terms, Nefesh Elokis, but remember,
yes.
the Nefesh HaBahamis is the one Ketol Dosa. That's
Yes.
the one you're born with. The Nefesh
Yes.
HaBahamis. The Nefesh HaBahamis.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And therefore, that's what we're more comfortable. We've had that longer. We're physical beings. It's a physical world. That's Hashem went through all these tzimtzumim and hecholot and parsas and blah 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 in order to get to a physical world. So there's a reason. It's not to dismiss.
Of course, there's a reason.
And it's the work. That's the work. That's what he wants from
That's
us.
why I emphasize that they have to take that phrase, the body that doesn't have the flame in it, you break it. There's a reason you have a body, and it isn't to break the body. It's to break the nefesh, the taivas and the Yetzer Hora that's attached to the body. Okay, they're all good, all good. And you told us before, that other issue you mentioned about feeling, oh, I must be a failure if I don't have my nefesh elokis shining. He covered that actually earlier as one of the other symptoms, as in the list of symptoms that he's been tracking of the Yetzer Hora getting a hold of you, making you feel like, he said that would be true if you only had one soul. You could feel bad that, okay, what is this? He gave me one soul, a godly soul, and it's not functioning entirely. But he didn't give you one soul, right? He gave you two souls. And it's the Nefesh HaBahamis with its Yetzer Hora, which gives you that voice of dejection and depression, and I'm not worthy. And he covered that a few pages back. But yeah, everything you said is just, yes, adding to the pile of things that we need to do. Absolutely. Anybody else? Okay, then, ubechein, therefore, with all of this knowledge, we will
work on we will create times, Eis Ratzon, to contemplate.
Okay. To contemplate, and then just add to what you're saying, and then to put into action.
How to get closer to our Nefesh Elokis, how to shine.
Right. Elisheva, are you finished? Yeah.
I heard a song this morning with the lyrics that this boy was singing. Sometimes all I can do is hold a siddur. Like, I really can't,
Right. All right. And look at that. You're holding a siddur as opposed to something else, huh? And feel good of it. Instead of all I can do is this, wow, look what I'm holding. Baruch Hashem. Rosa, you're up. Well, I haven't seen you
good
for
morning. I had a personal experience that was very stark yesterday. It was my husband's unveiling, Hakamas Matseva, and I spoke just for a few minutes. And everybody afterwards was like, wow, that's what everybody was just saying. Everybody was just saying, wow, about that, what I said, and how it was so appropriate, and how it was so just right, and how it was so meaningful, how it was so meaningful and encouraging at the same time. And I said that those few minutes took a lot of preparation. And I didn't mean that I took the time to spend hours thinking about what I'm going to say. What I meant was that ever since my husband was nifter, I've been learning more, and I've been thinking, I've been writing more personal tefillos. One of the things that I do is that I take an igros. There's this book in English that's very beautiful. That's just about betachon. So I take one of those igros, and then I write it into a prayer. So basically, what happened was that when I wanted to speak, there was a lot of soul depth that had been, you might say, generated through contemplation. And then in those 5 minutes, what was distilled was beautiful. So we are every day, when we learn Tanya, we are, this is contemplation. And
Absolutely.
we have to have emunah, like just have faith in ourselves and faith in Hashem, that our nefesh elokis is becoming strengthened, and it will become distilled. It will become something that you will be able to just, and it could be not yet, because like it could be that it has to be developed further within us, but it will be something that we will be able to summon.
Absolutely. All right. Absolutely true. The avoida, what's the expression? Hergel nasa teva sheni. That what you accustom yourself to, meaning here, as you're saying, Rosa, accustom yourself to misboinin in the thinking, in the Torah mind that you're encountering, will create a second nature. So that will be, instead of the first nature, which goes with the animal and the Yetzer Hara, the second nature, which is the second soul, will have its day, and its day will prevail. Thank you. Okay, it should be that way. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.